All right, we're starting here right now. And let me just start this here so we have more or less an idea, right? It doesn't matter, but just so we have one idea more or less. Okay, so welcome to Night Hacking. So we are here directly from DevVox in Belgium. And we are doing interviews and discussions about the Java technology with amazing people from the Java community. So I'm Bruno Souza, also known as the Brazilian Java Man. And I'm here with an amazing guy, Venkat Subramanian. Right, Venkat, you are one of the top speakers on the Java community because you have this unique style, right? When you start talking, you get out of your comfort zone, I'm sure, because you do live coding in an amazing way, and we take everyone else in this, take us out of our seats, right? Because everything you're showing is so incredible. So how do you do that?
More coffee.
More coffee.
So I think one of the things is, I had a really hard time learning programming in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And as I remember very clearly trying to learn languages, or just one language, C programming, and I had an incredibly difficult time to learn. And I failed at it. And then I went back and said, why was it so hard to learn? And I realized what I was doing wrong. I was trying to learn programming by reading a book.
Yes.
And I quickly realized that's not the way to learn programming. The way you learn programming is by actually programming. And so one of the reasons, one of the things I learned from that point of view is the only way to learn programming is to actually write quite a significant amount of code. And over time I realized that we only have to take time to learn the semantics and the idioms, but you never actually learn syntax explicitly. It's more an implicit learning. It kind of comes to you when you really code. And then I realized when you sit in talks, there's some really good speakers. I've been inspired by speakers over time. I've learned from good speakers over time. But also, when you listen to a talk, when somebody puts a slide in front of you, the immediate reaction for our audience is to read the slide.
Right.
Right. That's what
Yes.
we're going to do as human beings. And I realized over time, when people are learning a concept, imagine you're on the first floor and you want to get to the second floor. Either you have to take the stairs to get there, or you have to take the elevator.
Right.
Humans don't have the capability to jump from one floor to another. We're not gorillas. Well, learning is exactly the same thing. You are trying to take people from what they know to this, and there are two steps involved in it. The first is you really need to connect with the audience from where they know.
Right, from
Because
where they are right now, right?
Where they are right now.
Yeah.
Because the minute you latch, they are in sync with you. Then you have to literally walk them one step at a time. And I don't think there's a better way for a programmer to walk with you by writing code, right? Because they're writing code all day long.
Right.
So rather than showing them code, if you write the code, there is no way they're going to get ahead of you or behind you.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons I started writing code. And
So,
here's
so,
another
so it
thing.
looks like you're typing. Everyone's kind of looking over your shoulders to see what you're doing,
And
right?
they're doing, and there's another big benefit. You cannot be, as a human, you can never be perfect. So I fail, I make mistakes,
Yes.
code doesn't work, but here's the beauty. The audience immediately jump in and they rescue you out. And when they rescue you out, they feel like they're part of your presentation because they are influencing what's happening there. And so when I make mistakes, I don't try to pretend that I cannot make mistakes. I ask for help. So what am I doing wrong here? And people say, do this, do this. I'm like, okay, I can't hear everybody. Why don't you tell me what I should do? Oh, on line number 7, you should fix this. Oh, of course.
Yes.
And then they're into it. And it's a lot more fun because that's really a live presentation where they are with you and you are with them. And also, it doesn't feel so bored to give a talk after all because they're involved with you as well.
Right, and it's amazing because that's really live coding. Not only in the sense that you are doing it live, but in the sense that you're making the code come alive.
Yes, that's true. And also, one of the other things is, of course, here the audience is really large, but a lot of times when I have a smaller group of people, they would often say, but what would happen if you do this? Or how does this work? Well, why don't we try? And now we are,
see it, yeah.
so no two of my presentations are actually the same.
Yes.
And so we end up producing different code along the way, and that's a lot of fun as well.
Excellent. Now, one of the things that we're trying, as you said here, that we have to connect with people and then make them go to the next level, right? And what is that we need to do as developers to get always one step ahead in our careers? Because I think as developers we have to keep always improving our careers. We can't just stand still and sitting down and just waiting for things to happen, right? So what do we need to do every day to actually get ahead in our careers?
Well, I think the very first thing as a developer, we need to do is never be embarrassed about learning. We sometimes tend to do this. We feel like, oh, I'm experienced. That means I'm good. That means I shouldn't be critiqued. Well, I think we should really let go of that.
Yes.
And say,
a lot of times people they're experienced, they think that, oh, I can't make mistakes, or I can't ask questions, right?
That's
because
right.
I know a lot, right?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think the first thing is to say, it's okay to learn constantly. And there are things I know, but there are things I can actually know. As a developer, I need to have that mentality, I think. And the second thing I think is, almost every single day, I would actually ask developers to go out and do something completely unrelated to work. And if I look at my own career,
You completely unrelated to work, like do some sports, or completely unrelated to work, but like doing some coding in a different way?
well, actually, coding while sporting is actually even better. Well, I think extracurricular activities are important. I mean, I do a lot of mountain hiking, and I have to be honest about this. A lot of computer problems I actually solve when I'm actually away from my computer.
Okay,
I
good.
remember recently, a couple of weeks or months ago, I was spending several hours in the evening. I couldn't figure out how to solve a problem. Next morning, I went on a hike with my wife, and right in the middle of the hike, I'm like, I know the answer for this, and the rest of the hike was really horrible.
Right, you're
because
like,
I wanted to get
"I
back
want a
to
computer."
I want to get back and try this. Right? So that's not a bad idea to get out of the the office or the computer. But the thing is, when you learn something completely, I'll give you an example. I've been coding in C++, Java, C Sharp, languages that are C++ like languages.
Right.
Then I went on to learn about Ruby, and which was very different. And there were features in Ruby that were not in any of these languages. And then when I came back to programming in Java, I was actually able to apply some of the concepts from Ruby into Java, and the fellow programmers would look at me and say, that's very different code than we ever write.
Right.
Where'd you get this idea from? Well, over there from Ruby,
Right.
right? And so a lot of things I do today is things I actually learned in other languages. So when I often hear people complain saying, I don't like language X. That's like saying, I don't like hammer, or I don't like screwdriver, right?
Right, yeah.
We are programmers. Our job is to program. And the more different programming languages we know, we actually end up programming in the language we are using in a much better way, number one.
Right.
Second, if another language is a better language, we are ready to go after it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we should really get out of the comfort zone and do something completely different than what we do. It
Okay,
could be
cool.
it could be a tool, it could be a language, it could be a library that we are using, but we want to use different. Oh, I'm really using concurrency library from JDK, but I should maybe really try actors or software transaction memory, right?
Right.
And doing that for a few minutes a day really gives the courage, the motivation, the confidence that we actually can do something else.
Yes, the phrase that you said in your talk that I just love it is that you said that we have to be a few minutes every day completely uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right? What do you mean by completely uncomfortable?
So-
That's just kind of sit in a bed chair?
In a way it is. So if you really look at a very young student, right, whether it's a high school student or a graduate student or an undergrad student, you throw things at them, they're ready to do it.
Right.
And then we get our employment, and then we are like, oh, this is comfortable. I have a chair and a desk to work on, right? And then after a few years, you can recline a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's a sofa bed where you can lay down.
Right.
And 10 years of experience is where, you know what, I can code in my head, and when I type it, it works. I want to be left alone. Don't tell me to change it. That's a comfort zone.
Yes,
And the comfort
yes.
zone becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And when you're asked to do something different from what you do, it becomes really uncomfortable. But what if I put myself out of my comfort zone every day? Oh, you know what? I've been programming in Java for a long time. I'm going to go code in Groovy. I'm not coding in Groovy. Oh my God, I don't understand how this dynamic typing works. I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Good. If
That's
you are
good.
not uncomfortable, you are not learning. You're not
Okay.
improving. So I
That's-
think being uncomfortable is very important. And being in front of people is uncomfortable. Giving a talk is uncomfortable. Going and speaking to somebody is uncomfortable. Explaining things to somebody is uncomfortable.
Yes.
Well, if we never make ourselves uncomfortable, life becomes very uncomfortable to change. But
Yes.
if we are uncomfortable every day, what if being uncomfortable is the new comfort? Then it becomes very different way of doing. What if we change what we do every day? Then we don't fear changing things. So
Yeah.
the change becomes normal rather than being really hard. And I think we should really do that more often, I think. We should be very uncomfortable every day.
Yes. Well, that's for a lot of people, this is a very, very uncomfortable thought. Just by getting out of this comfort zone, it's something scary, right?
It is. It is very scary. But the thing is, if we don't, in a way, I would say, think about this for a minute. If imagine the very first day you wrote a code, what is the first thing that happened? The compiler spit at you.
Yes, he did.
And what did you do? You wiped it and you said, damn it, I'm going to try this, right?
Right. I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah, exactly. So we are shameless.
Yes.
And extend that beyond the computer.
Right.
Extend that beyond the compiler. Be shameless in front of people. What's the
Okay.
worst thing that can happen? You know what? I'm going to suck. But you know what? We suck every day.
Yeah.
So we'll get better. We fall. But it's not an end of the state. We get up and we move forward. And we have learned to deal with compilers. We have learned to deal with computers. It just extended further. And never be ashamed of failing. And I think it's not a failure, actually. It is just that you're going to get better by doing what you do. And I think people who really have the most difficulty are the people who feel ashamed of doing things and saying, oh my gosh, I should really not do this, right? I'm a relatively old guy, relatively speaking. And if I want to pretend that I'm really perfect, I should never fail, I don't think I would have the courage to even get up and walk. and you're in front of people. Do my demos fail? Yes, they do. They go miserably wrong. But you know what? People say, you know what? It happens to us too.
Right, yes,
It happens to me, it happens to you. What's the big deal?
Exactly.
And we learn from each other and move on. And when I'm at a client
And
site,
that's a cool thing because on development, so many things go wrong
Go
every
wrong,
day, right?
absolutely.
That's like it's like everyone talks about the demo gods and everything. Everyone has failed with their
absolutely.
demos, right?
I mean, I was at a client site and I was supposed to show them a way to do something. This was in London.
Yeah.
And I've spent 5 hours, and the developer next to me leans over and says, hey, Venkat, I have to tell you this. If you came in the morning and by 9:30 you had this working, I'll be very angry because I spent 2 years and I'm happy you are struggling. And then at the end of 4 hours or 5 hours, I tell him, you know what, sorry, this is a wasted day so far. Let's go to lunch. So we go to lunch and we're talking about games and all that. And my little mind is thinking about it. And then after about 20 minutes, I tell him, you know what, can we go back to work? I have an idea. So we come back, try something different, and it works. And he's like, whoa, how did you make this work? And that embarrassment for 4 hours was wonderful.
Right.
Because he looks at me and says, okay, you struggled to do this, but you got this working. This gives me confidence that if I struggle too, I can make this work too. And I think that makes you more humane. And it's okay to struggle, it's okay to fail. And perseverance, right? Perseverance is not where you try once and run away. Perseverance is where you try and try and try and eventually make it work. And I think failure is not important, perseverance is important. And I think that is why it's important to be uncomfortable, I think.
Excellent. So thanks a lot, Venkat.
Hey, thanks for having
It was
me. Pleasure.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
So you got
Thank you.
this, be uncomfortable, be perseverance, right? That's the way to improve your career.
I think so.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone here for watching here on Night Hacking. And keep watching because we're going to have lots of cool interviews and cool discussions with very, very cool people like Venkat here on Night Hacking. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. right, let me just stop this here.